Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I am Adrian Ford.
And I'm Dalton Gentry.
And we're here for this week's installment of Harry Potter. But we have our Strip Cover Lit candle burning on set as this...
Trying not to catch my beard on fire. I'm going to waft, excuse me.
As this episode is dedicated to Elizabeth and Tanya. And... yeah, dedicated to Elizabeth and Tanya. So, do you have a recap of the things going on in these chapters?
I do. Chapter 15 and Chapter 16, Harry Potter goes camping. Chapter 15, we have the Goblin's Revenge. The kids are being irritable and pissy, Ron especially. While camping, they meet Dean Thomas and Tonks's father. They're on the run with some goblins from the Inquisiting Ministry, trying to get them all because they're not pureblood. And we find out that a group at Hogwarts tried to steal Gryffindor's sword. So Snape had it sent to Gringotts, where it'd be safe and hidden, but we come to find out that it is a fake sword that's in Gringotts. The real sword of Godric Gryffindor is still out there, and it is one of the few things that we know now that can destroy a Horcrux. So, interesting stuff going on with that there. Chapter 16, Godric's Hollow, we travel back to Harry's place of birth. Hermione's book, The Tales of Beedle the Bard, that Dumbledore left behind for her. They find the same symbol they saw on Xenophilius Lovegood's neck, Grindelwald symbol there. That's also in the book. They also find that symbol on a grave. So we're trying to figure out what's going on, what that symbol actually represents. And we also see Dumbledore's parents and Ariana's grave in this huge graveyard, as well as Harry's parents. And on Harry's parents' grave, we see the last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. How romantic. Yeah.
What was it that was on... was it Dumbledore's family's grave or something? Or no, where was the inscription about, oh, damn it. Your heart is where the treasure is, or something like that?
I'm not sure who specifically, because that wasn't, what's his name? The one where they found the actual symbol itself. And I think the only other ones we really investigated were Ariana and Dumbledore's mother. And of course I won't be able to find it at this point in time because that's what I'm very good at. But we do see some good stuff going on here where we think maybe Rita Skeeter had maybe a few things right. Yeah. Talking about Dumbledore's family and the past here. We also find out that while the Daily Prophet's basically just been overthrown as propaganda at this point, that the Quibbler, run by the Lovegoods, is now the news source, the real news source.
Right.
It's like, what was that, the Weekly World? Do you remember Weekly World News?
Yeah.
With Batboy? Yeah, Batboy is basically running the news press now, which is gorgeous. So Adrian, what would you like to talk about?
Well, the sword will be in Godric's Hollow.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember what that inscription was, but that's telling you exactly what you need to know. Was it on the snitch itself, or was it on the? It was something with Dumbledore, I think.
Okay.
But here's something. I don't know where to start with. You have to kill someone to make a Horcrux.
Okay.
Moldavort killed Harry Potter's mother and father.
Okay.
Presumably, he could make Horcruxes thereafter. So if Harry Potter is a Horcrux, he is a Horcrux built off of the death of either his mother or his father. It would be interesting since you have to kill someone to make a Horcrux, that is a bit of your soul. It would be interesting if there was a bit of the victim's soul in there as well.
Okay.
And if Harry Potter's scar is a Horcrux, or Harry Potter himself is a Horcrux, he would be infused with not only some of Moldavort, but some of one of his parents. And I am not sure which parent it would be most symbolic or interesting or fulfilling if that were true.
Okay. Well, here's hoping that plays out a little bit. We find out a little bit about it.
We're running out of real estate.
Running out of real estate. We're getting close to about halfway through this here. So we're cooking.
Yeah.
We got a lot to wrap up and not a lot of text. But let's be honest, it took us 6.5 books to get here. So
well, in all of these books, the more I think about it and the more we go through this book where I'm realizing how many loose ends there still are, most of these books start off with a question, and the first about 10% of the book is a little bit of mystery.
Okay.
Then you have a large I would say 65% of the book that is just vapid movement as opposed to action.
Okay.
So the last quarter of the book is where everything wraps up.
All right.
How much of that would you argue?
I don't think you could really argue a lot of it, especially with this book as the example, because, again, I made the argument last week, this is very Lord of the Rings, and I'm going to continue that argument this week, because holy shit.
Yeah, there was a little phrase in there, I can't remember which one it was, but I was like, oh, well, that's Lord of the Rings.
Well, now the Horcrux is taking its toll on them, and it's making them weaker.
Right.
Ron has now betrayed them and kind of just gone off into the woods because he's pissed off because the Horcrux is affecting him. And beyond that, they're now literally living in the woods and like moving forward, to destroy the one magical object they have. Yeah. It's Lord of the Rings in a nutshell.
With a sword, too, right? Wasn't there some magical sword in Lord of the Rings?
There are a lot of magical swords in Lord of the Rings. I assume you're thinking of Sting, which was Frodo's sword that he received?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So magical swords are a thing in all fantasy literature.
Yeah, sure, but...
But no, this is very Lord of the Rings.
But how many swords have appeared in this text?
This would be it.
Right.
This would be
it.
Absolutely. And the sword itself, we find out, is actually imbued with basilisk venom. So we found out that basilisk venom can destroy a Horcrux. We saw that in the Chamber of Secrets, and now this sword is imbued with that basilisk venom. So that will be a key to destroy a Horcrux.
Which makes me want, is that what is quenching the metal when it is being forged, or how is that basilisk venom being? Is that what's shining the metal? I just wonder. It's a pointless question.
Well, no, it isn't. Because when you're looking into fantasy literature, the forging of these great mythical weapons and stuff, that usually is a huge part of the mythos of a fantasy novel. Especially when you're looking, let's take Lord of the Rings, for example. Elven made, Dwarven made, that's a huge part of the mythos. And
or with Thor, Mjolnir was forged in the heart of a dying star.
Absolutely so. Back with Lord of the Rings, Frodo receives that gift of chainmail, and it's elven made. That's why it's so light. It's magical because it's made by these elves. Right. And that gives it a little more oomph. That gives it a little more interest. With this, though, we're like, well, it's a sword, and it's it's got venom in it. It's a sword. Yeah. We don't get any play off that, which it really sucks. Because I think that could have been a very interesting thing.
It definitely could have deepened the mythos here. Mm-hmm. But there's another thing in these couple chapters that could deepen the mythos, but I don't think we're going to get it. But go ahead with your point, because I'll get around to that later.
Well, more so, when we're looking at the four founders of Hogwarts, especially J.K. Rowling, she's definitely run her course with Harry Potter. She's got the Fantastic Beasts series just pounding off right now. She's got...
Are those books or are those just movies?
Movies.
Okay.
She has The Cursed Child, which was a book that she gave her blessing, which is a Broadway production at this point.
And that is canon.
That is considered the canon because it has her blessing. But, we miss a huge opportunity here with the founders of Hogwarts. Because you have four of these legendary wizards, the greatest of all time, getting together to create this school. I would have much rather had that than Fantastic Beasts or The Cursed Child. Yeah. I think there's so much more that could have been elaborated with that.
I think it would also be interesting to have, and this is the point I was going to make, the book that goes into the adventures that Ginny, Luna, and Neville have during the semester. And what better chance would you have to give a strong female character than with those three? Okay. Because what you're doing with the genders is you're inversing it. Now, still, you're dealing with all white people, but you're inversing those gender roles. So you've got the one male and the two females, and you have to imagine that the head of this pact is Ginny.
Yes.
So you'd be inversing all of the roles therein as well.
And we get the little bit that, Ginny was basically the one spearheading this heist for the sword, as well as trying to reforge Dumbledore's army, as Snape is basically looming over Hogwarts at this period of time. So I think we got a little bit going on with that. Yeah. I think we can play with that there. I do think it's also interesting that Snape has identified the fact that the sword is a big enough deal to send it to Gringotts. So clearly this is going to come back into play. Since we're making an entire chapter talking about this fucking sword, it's going to come back. Yeah. So hopefully we'll see what's going on with that there. And it's interesting. It plays out decent. I think we can get behind it. I think you'll approve. Probably not.
No,
okay.
It's not going to happen.
All right. What else would you like to talk about?
So there's an interesting little bit of literature that goes on here. Not played with as much as I would like, and I fear that it is going to be passed over, and I fear that it is going to be just eaten up by the fact of the Horcrux.
Okay.
But there is that small moment where Harry Potter feels disappointment in Dumbledore. Because here he is, fighting the fight. Here he is forging his own way. And he feels completely ill-prepared.
Okay.
That is, I dare say, how all of us feel at some points in our adult lives when we get to simple things and realize that our parents did nothing for us, nothing to prepare us for certain things, right?
Okay.
So,
and at this point of the novel, Harry Potter would be 17, so I mean that's right about that cusp when you're starting to get out on your own experienced life for the first time.
and even if it's not the age, even if it is not age correct, because I started to feel it more in my 30s, not necessarily resentment.
Okay.
But you get to points where, so for me, it's social. Like the more I really examine my life, don't do this, Dalton. I'm opening up to you.
I'm listening.
Okay.
I'm
I'm
listening.
bearing my soul.
Bear it.
I'm showing you my soft underbelly.
Let's hear it.
Don't pet my underbelly, by the way.
I'm going to try.
You'll lose a hand. Being ill-prepared social, I always just sort of realized I'm just a gruff son of a bitch who doesn't like people, right? I'm just out there. I'm different. I'm weird. I'm distant. All of these things. A lot of that comes from one half of my parentage
Okay.
that was incredibly antisocial, and the other half of my parentage not necessarily fed into it, but was maybe to an extent victimized by that antisocial behavior. So all of you start thinking back to, for me with this, I start thinking back to all these weird things, interactions that I haven't understood in my life. And I realize I just never had a chance.
Okay.
I literally never had a chance at those things. And I think, like, I'm not saying this to complain or try to be special or anything. All of us will face this about certain things.
True.
There will be something in your life, if you've not already come to it,
Oh, there's been plenty.
that you realize. And it's not that your parents did that to you on purpose.
Yeah.
They had holes in their knowledge and their upbringing, and it's reflected in you at that time. Like for me, it's irreversible. I'm never going to be a people person now.
Okay.
I don't understand you things, right?
Okay.
So that is, I hope, I'll say hope, because there's still time. I hope that is exploited to its fullest literary advantage going forward. And what that would mean is that Harry Potter does not exploit some little trick that Dumbledore baked into the cake, but that he learns, this is how I am deficient, but it is how I can use that deficiency in a productive manner.
Okay.
So in other literary context, I will use the example of the X-Men.
Okay.
The X-Men in Marvel Comics are genetically different, which means they inherited their powers from their parents, even if their parents don't have manifested powers, correct?
Correct.
It's genetic. So they're getting this through their bloodline. Much as you are raised, right? It is something inherent to your situation. You have no control over it. What happens in the X-Men is they use their powers to positively affect the world. They use the difference inherent to them to positively affect the world. If it is Harry Potter learning somehow to use the difference and the deficiencies in him to positively affect this battle against Moldavort, I will credit KJ Rowling.
Okay. Close enough. I'll take it. Well, I think it's a solid argument because Dumbledore would obviously be seen as the father figure for Harry in this.
Yeah.
His parents obviously aren't there, and Dumbledore was the one who basically filled the void for him and taught him a lot of what he's utilizing now. And I think that is a fair argument. So your parents, prepare you the best they can, but everyone has a deficiency of some sort. On my end, my parents created the best damn social being there is, but I have no discipline whatsoever, man.
Yeah.
None whatsoever.
The closest you come to discipline is the fact that you replaced your hardwood floor with faux wood siding.
Fair. fair. It looks nice, though.
I'm sure it does.
It looks nice.
It takes up scuffs easier.
It's okay. It's okay. But no, you do get a lot from your parents. You do get a lot from those who you see as a father figure. And it will be interesting to see how Dumbledore's influence is going to develop Harry further, especially once we're getting to the point where, like, it's time to put these skills to use. It's coming to a head. Shit's going to hit the fan.
Yeah.
So let's see what you got, kid.
We're coming in on 300 pages left in the series.
This is true.
So if we're looking at Dumbledore as a father, we can also, obviously, through the context of the series, look at Dumbledore as the father.
Okay.
Dumbledore as a god figure, correct? Okay. We've exploited that several times throughout the series.
We have. We have quite literally at this point seeing him sacrifice himself basically for the greater good.
And for sacrifice himself for the greater good, which is an extended metaphor through sacrificing the self through Christ, right?
Very true. And who is it that actually, puts that bullet in old Dumbledore? Well, it was one of his most trusted.
Yeah.
So we give a lot of religious overtones with this.
Well, and further, where are we at the end of this second chapter here?
We are at Godric's Hollow. We are at the graveyard.
We are in the graveyard on what day of the year?
Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christmas or Christmas Eve?
I don't remember.
I believe it was Christmas Eve.
Okay.
But we're at least headed, it's dark. We're at least headed towards midnight, right? So we're coming close to midnight. So what do we have here? We have a scene. What was the Christ family? The Christ family was mother, husband, and son.
Okay.
Right? What is Harry Potter's family?
Mother, husband, and son.
Yeah. The son was inspired by God.
Okay.
Who then runs off with a prostitute. We're here with Hermione, aren't we?
Okay.
So what scene are we painting here?
We painting a crucifixion style scene?
No, we're painting the fact that Hermione is a prostitute.
Oh, is that what you really were getting at?
She is a common hussy.
Oh, Hermione, Mary Magdalene of the series. It's okay.
Hermione.
It's okay. Put that on the back burner for a second, if you will. I'm sure you might have more to say about it, but there is, and I've mentioned this before, it's not really a spoiler, I have mentioned it. There is a scene in this book, and it's a full chapter, and I think you are just going to go off on a fucking rant on it. Like, it's going to take up the whole 30-minute video of just talking about this one scene.
Is it coming?
It's coming. Like, not incredibly soon, but obviously it's in this book.
Yeah.
But we haven't made it there yet.
Why are you bringing it up now?
I've mentioned it before in the past, and I keep telling you to put it on the back burner because we're definitely going to get there, and it's going to be a huge point of conversation.
Okay.
So keep it in mind moving forward. Let's talk a little bit about the symbol that we've seen Xenophilius Lovegood wear. We have seen it on a grave, and we know that it is the symbol of the Dark Lord Grindelwald.
Could I make one small point before this?
Absolutely.
That way we can dedicate the rest of the episode to whatever it is that you want to talk about. So I have often made the... Dumbledore makes me think of Stephen Frei.
Okay.
I don't know if I don't know how I'm putting that out there. He seems to be a character very much inspired by Stephen Frei, just by the mannerisms communicated, by some of the physical traits that he embodies. But we get this. Harry imagined coming here with Dumbledore, of what a bond that would have been, of how much it would have meant to him. But it seemed that to Dumbledore, the fact that their families lay side by side in the same graveyard had been an unimportant coincidence, irrelevant, perhaps, to the job he wanted Harry to do. That seems very much like an atheist take on a gravesite, right? It's just where they're lying. It's where you might go to visit and pay respects, but you carry that person with you always. And that is the important part. And Stephen Frei is a very outspoken atheist, has been for decades.
And we've talked a little bit about that, of how the idea of religion works in the wizarding world, because it's never really inherently mentioned.
But they do celebrate Christmas.
And you have like a group of people who have the magic ability to do whatever the hell they want, can literally summon forward water. They can summon forward food. We see them at one point. Is it Dean and not the Lovegood father, Dean and Tonks's father in the river, basically summoning forward salmon.
Yeah.
literally summoning fish to feed the masses. There's a lot of religious symbolism, but where is God in that picture if you possess these powers?
Well, and with that very scene, give a man a fish, you feed him for the day.
Okay.
Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. That is an inherently Christian thing. Maybe not inherently. I don't know how far back it goes, but I've never seen anything suggesting it goes back further than Christianity. You don't have to teach a wizard to fish.
No.
There's no fishing necessary.
Okay.
It's accio. Just give it.
Yep.
Just give it.
No problem.
Bring it here.
And furthermore with that is, where was I going with this? It was a good point. It was a great point, and it's gone. It's totally gone. Shit!
You were talking about
so
the
disappointed in
religiosity.
myself. Yeah, I was talking about religion in Harry Potter. And
these are not religious people, or are they? They have the powers to do anything.
Son of a bitch, man. Don't you hate that? Where, like, it was right there, and, like, I was getting ready to segue, and as soon as I opened my mouth, I'm like, yeah.
That's why I've always got one of these. I try to...
About that. Son of a bitch, man. That's going to drive me insane. But obviously, we have some religious overtone in this, but we don't have any declared religion at any point in time.
We don't have the solicitation thereof.
And we also have, and I think we've mentioned this in the past, wizards who have the ability to basically cheat death and become immortal. Obviously, Voldemort at this point is immortal.
Right.
We've seen...
But he's doing that through the fracturing of a soul.
Okay. Furthermore, we saw way back when the Sorcerer's Stone. It makes the person who possesses the Sorcerer's Stone immortal. Nicholas Flamel yet lived for centuries because he was the alchemist who created the Sorcerer's Stone. So that idea of death really doesn't play into the wizarding world as much because, I mean, death is a cheatable thing. You can live forever if you'd like. There are a lot of weird atheist overtones in an overtly a Christian book, obviously, since we're celebrating Christmas at this point.
Well, and a lot of the symbolism that goes into the Christianity, there are some subtle hints towards Christian values and things as we go along. But I don't know that the idea of cheating death is necessarily anti-Christian.
Okay. And just to segue this back to where I was originally starting, we have the idea of this symbol, this magic symbol that they keep seeing in the book. Mr. Lovegood wears the symbol. They saw it on the grave. It seems to be, you would assume, a religious symbol. Because people are wearing it around their neck, they're imprinting it on things. There seems to be some symbolism behind it. But it's not a religious thing. This is just the symbol of the Dark Lord Grindelwald. That's what we know at this point in time.
Yeah.
So what are you feeling about that? Any premonitions about where we're going with that symbol, what it may mean, what it may do?
Well, it's obviously the Illuminati.
Oh, it's the Illuminati.
It's a triangle.
It's okay.
But I don't know. I've got no real tell into that.
Okay.
Now, it is a triangle that is triune, so it is possible probably to extract something from that. But like you said, this is such a strangely obtuse text as far as hinting towards things, never making a statement on them. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's fair.
There is so much Christianity in this text without anything Christian being there, besides the citation of Christmas.
And the question again leads, is it there purposefully or is it not? It's just, J.K. Rowling took it for granted. I mean, this is the way, society is. This is the way it is.
Right. And so that's there are so many... Privilege is the word that comes to mind, right? Privilege in the assumptions that anyone reading your text will just understand the well water from which these clothes are washed. That doesn't even make sense. I don't know where I got that. But
okay, it's a good ramble.
That is the classic privilege that you're pointing to when you say something like white privilege or straight privilege or cultural privilege in any sort of denomination.
Okay.
It is expected in this text that Christmas break is assumed.
Fair.
Right? This is the wizarding world. We've discussed this before in this series. It could have been called anything. Winter solstice break. would have made a great deal of sense. When
I
you're
don't
talking
even
about
have Christmas
magicians.
break in college. I have winter break.
Right.
But we have
right.
Christmas break here.
Yeah.
So interesting.
And this is a 90s text, right?
True. Very true.
98? Am I mistaken on that? This one might be later.
This one might be later, but this is definitely in the 90s.
This is 07?
Yeah, 2007.
So this was a text started in the 90s. The 90s was when the whole war on Christmas thing was a big deal.
Okay. Well, we got a few more minutes here, so let's talk about that last image that we are given in this chapter, the image of the grave, Harry's parents' grave. And on that grave, we see the phrase, "The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death." Any thoughts on what that could mean, where that's going to take us, and why it would be included?
The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death.
Mm-hmm.
That, I don't know why, but it strikes me as pointing to the fact that Harry Potter is a Horcrux.
Okay.
Because it was the death of someone that allowed the Horcrux to be made, implanted in Harry Potter. None shall live while the other remains, or whatever that prophecy was. Neither shall... whatever it was. That would seem to coincide with that sentiment.
Okay. Well, we can assume here, like I said, we're going to have a lot of death coming. That is coming in this novel. It would be expected, and we're just warming up. So I think we'll see how that plays out. Anything else you want to talk about before I finish this up here?
The idea of living forever, I said that it's not anti-Christian, and it's not. But I believe Cain. And Cain, don't know if he lived forever, but he was ridden of the ability to go to heaven, which at the time of the tale of Cain and Abel, death was not as... So in the Jewish tradition, there's no heaven, as the Christians think of it. Mm-hmm. You don't die and go to heaven. You go to Sheol. Sheol was just a place in the ground. There is no... you would not be in heaven until resurrection, which was the end of times. So Cain was sentenced to walk the earth as evil. Judas, I think, under some mythos of Christianity, lived for centuries after. Okay. I may be making that up. But so while it is not an inherently anti-Christian sentiment, it is a sentiment of evil in the Christian religion.
All right.
I had to come back to that. I'm sorry. I
okay.
just took the note.
We will be back with more death, and we will be back with more evil, and more kinds of Harry Potter shit next week, because we're getting really close to finishing this novel up, and I think you're gonna get some fun stuff out of this, because it gets a little wonky. But we will be back next week with chapters 17 and 18, Bathilda's Secret, and The Life and Lies of Albus Dumbledore. Doesn't that sound nice?
It does. Very nice.
If you like this kind of thing, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. Give this video a like as well. We always appreciate that. And if you'd like to help us continue to make great content like Adrian Reed's Harry Potter here on Strip Cover Lit, there's a link, as always, to our Patreon to be found in the description below.